Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where we are currently 96 days away from our auxiliary module docking up with the Solar Gateway, which is fine, because in order to complete our contracts, we have a few things that we need to do. Specifically, we need to send a rover with a large scanning arm to Duna. So let's go ahead and open up the Science Rover Mark Duna here, because we need a better scanning arm. And that is something we discovered. I believe we accepted this contract on the way to Duna, if I recall correctly, but we can ditch this small scanning arm, and instead we can do, let's see, a large scanning arm, and we would just position that basically the same, like so. Now that's kind of clipping in over here. We may want to adjust its positioning somewhat. We could, in theory, bring it, without snapping, down over this way, and maybe space it out a little bit. And by that I mean we would take this off, and then just put in, say, a cubic octagonal strut right about here. And just give this a little bit of spacing to be positioned offset slightly, like that. And then we turn snapping back on, and just pop that into place. Snapping back off, and make sure that it's actually connected here. We appear to be in mirror mode, which I did not intend to do. But I realized that I did do that. So we'll just do something kind of like this, and then we hope that this doesn't get destroyed by these engines firing. So I'm going to save this for right now. There are additional concerns that I have with this design that we want to change. And actually, I'm going to do that really quickly here. I want another cubic octagonal strut to give us just a little bit of spacing, like that. And also, I want to change this decoupler. I want to change this to be a TD06 decoupler. Just like that. That'll do. Are we still within the fairing? Yes, we are. That is perfectly fine. Okay, let's check our staging. Stage 1 looks good. Our main core looks good. Exploration upper stage looks good. Our sky crane looks good. And this needs to not be in the same stage, actually. Yeah. So we need this connection to happen before this connection does, for sure. Otherwise, everything looks good. I mean, we can have this be activated in this stage. That's perfectly fine. So, we're now going to save this, and we are going to put this out on the pad, but we're not going to full-on launch this just yet. I need to run a quick test to see if firing our sky crane will do any damage to the rover arm. So we're going to deploy the fairing here, and this will be reverted, just for the record. This will absolutely be reverted. And we are going to activate all 4 of these engines. Like so. And we are going to throttle up and see how this large scanning arm handles it. This might be a little loud, we'll see. Okay, that seems to be good. I'm going to physics warp to drain the fuel faster. I'm actually going to turn down the spacecraft audio just a little bit more. That's better. Still a bit on the loud side, but okay. And it looks like our scanning arm is still perfectly operational. So that's perfect. We are going to revert that back to launch. And that is glorious. So, we are pretty much ready to launch this guy. Except, I actually want to revert this back to vehicle assembly. Will this crash the game? No, it did not. Fantastic. That occasionally does, and I'm not entirely sure what causes it. Hey, you should be on the road, jerk. Road's there for a reason. Okay, so this solar panel is here. The antenna is now going to be positioned like that, which is not going to clip into anything. That's nice. Now, I really don't know what is causing the brake jittery issues. But we're going to run a quick test. So, I'm going to make sure this is saved. We're not going to save this. We are going to deploy purely this. This is all that we're going to have there. So we're going to launch that, and we're going to see if on Kerbal we have any issues with the brake jitteriness, and see if maybe we can fix that issue. Okay, it's looking good so far. Brakes are currently maxed. Let's check our directionality. This is all reversed, which is fine. Okay. So we've definitely still got this issue. Some of our wheels are going in a different direction than others, which is fine. And of course our SAS is currently set to SAS only and SAS only. Okay. Now I don't want to actually exit the pad over here. I want to do something like this. Okay. We'll turn our SAS on. And I want to park on this incline. On Kerbal, this seems to be just fine. We extend the antenna. We extend the solar panel. We make sure to decouple that. This seems stable on Kerbal. Can we cheat it onto Duna to see if it's stable there? Of course, we're not going to keep it there, but I'm not sure. I know we can put it into orbit. Can we put it on the surface? Set position. Yes. So we place it on Duna. I don't really care where. Okay, we're back. Had a minor cat-related emergency, but turned out there was nothing going on. So it's completely fine. There was literally nothing to be concerned about. We're not going to grab any of these because this is, of course, a simulation, but I just want to check here. Do we have power? We do. We don't currently have probe control, which is why we are currently struggling a little bit, but this is a simulation, so I'm actually going to go ahead and there's a tool here somewhere. And I believe, let's see, I know it's, where was that? There's a tool here to get rid of the, actually we're going to check infinite electricity for right now because we don't care about electricity generation for the purposes of this simulation. Input locks. This is, I think, what we're looking for. Yeah, we have no control right now. That's quite the bit mask. Okay, we'll hit that button. Okay. And yeah, now we have proper control. We want to make sure that this is set to SAS only in both of these locations. Okay, there we go. So now we can properly do a little bit of testing here. We'll turn our lights on. We'll turn our brakes off. Okay, so we can see that we've still got a wheel issue. We will sort that out on the pad with our next test. I want to make sure that we have solved the physics jitter issue. That's interesting. Do we have some of our brakes set to differing levels? 200 and 200. No, we don't. Okay, so we definitely have some wheel work to do, but it looks like we're not jittering. So that is ideal. We can go ahead and revert this back to the vehicle assembly, because of course that whole thing was a simulation, and we are going to open up the not auto-saved version of the Science Rover Mark Duna, but rather the proper version. This is still simulated because we are currently troubleshooting our wheels. So let's just get this loaded in here. And we needed an elevated platform, and we may as well use the one we've already got. So we're going to deploy our Airstream here. Excellent. And I'm trying to remember what the hotkey is. I don't actually remember what the hotkey is to change. Oh yeah, it's middle click. I'm an idiot. Okay, so I want to be zoomed in somewhere up over here. Excellent. So we can see that the wheel turning is correct. But let's just look at the wheel flow here. So we can see that this wheel is turning correctly. In fact, all of these wheels are turning correctly. Now that baffles me a little bit. This wheel is not spinning when all the others are. Motor enabled. Motor enabled. Steering direction is inverted. Steering is disabled on the back wheels. Why are all of the other wheels spinning, but this one's so much slower? That's actually the problem then. Is that the wheels are all going the correct direction. And they're all going the same speed, except for this wheel. What is different? Traction control is at 1.0 for all of them. Steering direction is normal, and steering direction is inverted, which is correct. That is, in fact, what we want it to do. We'll try turning that motor off and on again. Uh-huh. It's now turning the correct direction. It was turning the wrong way a moment ago. You can see these wheels are already going in reverse. This one was still going forward. So there's something wrong with our front right wheel. And the question is, what exactly is different here? Brakes are the same. Friction and traction control are set to auto. Motor is enabled. Motor direction is reversed, which appears to be correct. Take off the brakes. It's just so much slower than all the others. That's our problem, for sure. And I guess we'll revert this back to vehicle assembly, because I am unsure what is wrong with this wheel. Maybe we need to replace it. So we'll just grab it and place it like so. Of course, it is slightly rotated, so we should probably do something about that. And we want snapping on for that. Okay, so we place it like that. We want to make sure that it's snapped to the correct position. Technically, that is not the correct position. That's a bit higher. I guess we'll turn snapping off and just bring it down to approximately the correct position. And we'll judge it based on this one, so just below that dot. So technically a little higher than this. Like right there. That's about right. Okay, let's take a look at this. Traction control is at 1.0. Enabled, inverted, enabled, reverse. Enabled, normal, enabled, reverse. But the steering direction is correct. Traction control at 1.0, brakes at 200, correct. Friction and traction control are both at auto. Okay. Let's give this another quick test. If this doesn't work, then we may have to completely scrap that wheel and place a new one on rather than just repositioning it and seeing if that gets it updated. So we're going to need to do something like this. Okay. That looks correct. Steering looks good. Forward looks the same as everything else. Reverse looks the same as everything else. Okay. I don't have an explanation for why it happened the first time. The only thing I can imagine, as we revert this back to launch, the only thing that I can imagine is that it was a bug. So let's just actually revert this back to vehicle assembly. And we are once again going to save this. And we're just going to pop this to the Duna surface. And we're going to see if this ends up working correctly. It should. This should work fully correctly. Oh, and I need to remember to turn off the infinite electricity. But for right now, this is fine. We'll set this at an altitude of 2.53. That's what I found when the camera was off during the emergency. I came back and discovered that we were in a slightly awkward position. So I discovered that this is the altitude that we want to set it at, which is the minimum recommended. And it has decided to put us in sideways, but that's okay. Physics easing should do the trick. Yes. Okay, brakes are on. We'll make sure the SAS is on pilot, or rather SAS only, like so. Excellent. We'll need to remove the input lock, like this. There we go. And let's just turn on our lights, extend our antenna, extend our solar panel, and let's see if this is working correctly. We're drifting a little bit, but that's manageable. Let's go ahead and just turn this guy over this way. Uh-huh. Okay. So we actually have the exact same issue. The one that we just fixed. That's interesting. I mean, some of the polling probably has to do with center of mass, right? I'm guessing that that's what it is, but for some reason, on Duna, we have the exact same issue. That said, it only happens while we're under acceleration, and we are reversed. Which is easy enough to fix. We can simply do this number, right? So we can just, yeah, that's fixed. And I'm guessing that there's substantial weight here that's causing it to pull like that. But that's only while we're actively accelerating with the motors. We can steer just fine, and we go perfectly straight, like straight as an arrow. Well, actually, we're pulling a little bit. We could turn SAS on, though, and yeah, that fixes that issue. We still pull a little bit while we're under motor acceleration, but I think that's manageable. And let's just... yeah, we exceeded our wheel stress there, which is acceptable. As I have a sudden coughing fit. Okay, so yeah, that is acceptable. And the reason that happened was because we were going so quickly, and I don't intend to go that quickly on a non-simulated vehicle. I was just doing some limit testing there. So we'll go ahead and revert that back to vehicle assembly, and we appear to be good to go. We're going to open up the Science Rover Mark Duna here, and we are going to, if I can, apparently I cannot. Okay. I don't know why shift scrolling is not doing what I was expecting it to, because it's doing what it normally does. I was just completely reversed in my head. Okay, speaking of reversed, we need to do this number. Excellent. And with that, we are pretty much ready to launch. So, let's get out of here, I think. So, let's just go ahead and launch this. And off we go. I have no idea what our window looks like in terms of how we're going to get to Duna. It's probably garbage, but that's okay. We're not in any big hurry. Just need to get these contracts wrapped up. And we can also do this science data from surface of Minmus in a little bit. But for now, we're just going to get this guy into orbit and call this good. We've done some pretty serious testing on this rover, so we shouldn't really have any major issues. We've got plenty of electric charge. All things considered, we should be fine. Although, I really probably should be pitching over a little bit. I kind of wasn't doing that. We're going to be aiming for a bit high of an apoapsis then. I just don't want to be tumbling, although the atmospheric pressure is quite low at this point. So let's just see if we can't go for a really aggressive turn. Slightly late. Yeah, that's fine. That'll do. Okay, we'll just continue burning here. I'm going to cut our liquid engines until our SRBs are out. Then fire up our liquid engines for separation. Now that we are separated, there we go. We don't need any more propellant until we are at the most efficient point, which would be right about there. Okay, we'll go ahead and lock to that maneuver. We can get rid of our fairing now. Excellent. We are at the maneuver node, and we're just waiting at this point until we exit the atmosphere. We are out. Now we will extend these solar panels and this antenna. Fantastic. This is a 1 minute, 22 second burn, so we will burn this at T minus 41 seconds. Which I should probably go ahead and warp towards. So right about now. And off we go. Fantastic. Well, we're not really going anywhere. We're just hopping into orbit. No big deal. We've got a little bit of a burn ahead of us, but nowhere near what we've got to get to Duna. This will take some time, but we should have no communications issues along the way. I did turn off infinite electricity, didn't I? I mean, it doesn't matter. We launched dayside and we had solar panels, but I want to double check. I did not. Okay. Now it's off. Fantastic. Like I said, it literally does not matter right now because we launched dayside. We have these solar panels, which would have kept us active, and these engines have alternators. So we did not gain any electric charge from accidentally having that on. We would have been at full anyway. So that's perfectly fine. And we will be in orbit momentarily. About another 10 seconds on this burn. There we go. Okay, we're officially in orbit. That's close enough. Slightly elliptical, but that'll do. And with that, it is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and I will see you all next time when we send this guy to Duna and probably hop over to Minmus quick for some scientific data. Maybe we put a rover there too, since we have some scanning science that we can grab there. See you all next time.